even the fact that I grew up in a school where like you fight all the time, and we had people get shot.
Hey, I'm Zainab.
And I'm Mia.
And welcome to another episode of Sprinkles and Spice.
And what race box am I supposed to check when I'm doing the paperwork?
So today, our guest today is a model who's worked with Nike, YSL, Vogue, and Fenty, just to name a few, a spinning coach, and he's a man. Our first male guest. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. Hamad. So,
Where are you finding these sounds? That's the first question I want to know.
I spend too much time on the internet.
she really does her homework.
Yeah. Fair.
So tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the episode.
A little about myself.
I mean, we left nothing in that intro, but
Yeah.
I know, innit? Khalas. Man has already been added into that. I was born in Kuwait, raised outside of here most of my life. And then I just came back to Kuwait about 2 or 3 years ago. First time in like, I don't even know how long. It's been probably 17 to 20 years. So, yeah.
relatable content.
So relatable. I just got here myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, this year. And I never lived here. And so I feel like I'm like, whoa, this is another world.
Where did you come from?
Paris and London.
Okay, fair.
French girl.
French girl era.
All right, let's get into the episode. Our episode today is about identity and being a third culture kid.
Here we go.
Are you familiar with that term?
I've heard it, yeah.
Oh,
Rare,
okay.
rare.
Yeah. Let's define third culture kid, though, for those who don't know.
So it's usually kids who grew up in a country that's different to the one their parents come from or culture that their parents come from. And so Hamad, being Kuwaiti, raised outside, would qualify as a third culture kid. And I would as well. And because you lived in Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah,
I always say, like, I do identify as a third culture kid, but I'm not as much of a third culture kid as you. I feel like I'm more of a multicultural Arab / third culture kid. But yeah, I did grow up a bit in the States, did some time back and forth.
She said
I did
some
some
time.
time.
I did some time. I have a joke, but we're not going to put it in.
So why did you move to Kuwait?
So I moved back to Kuwait because, ever since I was a kid, I didn't come back here for 20 years. And obviously, my dad's side of the family is from here. And so for me, it was just a case of coming back to see this side of myself and this world and culture and kind of learn and dig a bit deeper into that. So that's brought me back into here.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
I kind of did the same. I had to come back for some personal reasons. And no one in my life ever thought I would come here and stay. Literally, my dad's side is Kuwaiti. And when my dad passed away, being here made zero sense. He passed away during COVID. And so coming back here felt so surreal because I would come to Kuwait for Christmas or for a short break.
Okay.
And so I don't really speak Kuwaiti. I don't really have a life here beyond just the 2-week break a year. And so coming back and feeling like, oh my God, I'm making friends. I'm doing things. I'm going out. I'm discovering that there's a whole life in Kuwait that I can have, and I'm reconnecting with my roots. It's kind of crazy because even my friends outside, the way I speak of Kuwait now, they want to visit, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think to me, I was foreign to Kuwait. So I viewed it as a foreigner a little bit. There's not that much to do other than see family, maybe go to the mall, enjoy the weather.
I mean, there are a few months out of the year that you can
winter.
enjoy the weather. Yeah.
But beyond that, I was like, what would I do there? And then coming here and creating a podcast and making friends and just finding cool things to do is kind of crazy.
I trapped her.
Yeah.
She did. with the pod. The pod's our baby.
I literally live at your house right now. Literally.
She's literally every morning she goes up to my mom. She's like, "Can you adopt me?" And my mom's like, "Take my daughter away." She was like, "I don't need a third daughter."
I'm an only child, so it's like very like.
Fair,
I'm
makes
like,
sense.
Does anyone want a sibling?
Yeah.
Fair.
All right, we're gonna get into connecting with your roots a bit later, but before we do, we're gonna talk about a little bit of the challenges that are faced by third culture kids.
Okay.
And the first one that we have is dun 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 identity complexities.
Okay.
So obviously as a third culture kid you struggle with a sense of belonging. And why are you looking at me?
No, I'm just looking at you because you're beautiful.
Thanks, so are you? It's like a third wheeling at this point. Hamad, look away.
Hamad, this is some private time. Hamad, you're beautiful too. How's that?
I apologize.
Anyways, back to the conversation. So basically, like I feel like as third culture kids, we struggle with a sense of belonging, and you kind of don't have a fixed identity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, do you want to ask the question?
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, I think you say you grew up in the UK. So obviously the UK is so multicultural. There's people from everywhere. There's people that look like all of us there. But what did you grow up identifying as?
What did I grow up identifying as? A man.
Great.
Culturally.
No.
Because I don't know about you, but I was the only Arab in my school.
No,
There
I
was
mean,
no other Arabs.
for me, I moved to the States first. So I moved to Minnesota first, which basically,
Minnesota.
I know, right? Very, very, my mom's from there. So it was,
Does she have the accent?
yeah,
Minnesota.
she does. Swear down. When we went there, it was like the first time I ever saw snow in my life as well. And I was like, nah,
How old
what
are
is
you?
this?
I had the same question.
I was very
Snow.
young. I think it was, I mean, we've been there when I was younger and it was snowing during Christmas time, but I've never lived in it.
Were you born there?
No, I was born here.
Oh, okay.
And then I left when I was like, I think I was about 9 or 10. Growing up there, to be honest, it was right after 9/11.
Oh, okay.
So that's when we had initially moved to the States
Yeah.
after 9/11. And during that time, it was, I mean, honestly, my mom was just kind of like, don't tell people you're Arab or you're Muslim or whatever, especially in America, because it's a bit sensitive and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily identify as either the Western or that. It was just kind of like getting by. But I was quickly labeled with all the black kids because I'm mixed race. So in the States, it's like if you're mixed race, you're basically with this,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, for me it was. So I suppose you could say I identified as I was labeled, which was black. So I kind of was always surrounded by my dad's side of the family, which is all dark skin, and then in the States it was the same. I grew up, I was always surrounded by black people, so I was never really around Arabs. White people not as much either.
We have the
Like-
white people correspondent.
Yeah.
Am I the white people correspondent? Me? Yeah, I'll take it.
But yeah, I wasn't really surrounded by them that much
Yeah.
because for like not for anything, but for reasons of I just didn't understand them or their culture, and it was
Wow.
just kind of like I grew up with Arab black culture, and then I grew up with black American culture, and then that just kind of carried on that way. So it was like that's something that I knew, and I knew how to be around different cultures as well. Like I was friends with everyone, I was cool with everyone. I just was placed in one, and that was basically a safety measure in high school, in my high school, at least in the States, because it was a madness. So yeah, so it was I mean, I didn't grow up how Arab kids grow up, which is you go to America, your family has money, whatever. Was not that case. It was complete opposite. So for me, it was like um, school in America. Like looking back at it now, was like a weird way of like kind of setting you up for jail. Yeah,
Oh
it's a
yeah,
madness.
Yeah.
because of how it's like divided.
Yeah,
right?
how you divide things, how you go about things. Even the fact that I grew up in a school where like you fight all the time,
Yeah.
and we had people. I mean, we had people get shot, stabbed. So it wasn't like something that I didn't grow up around.
Yeah.
Nice little. So I didn't know that side. So yeah, but yeah. So I suppose I grew up just identifying as a black kid. I mean, I always obviously knew I was Arab, but I just
Yeah.
never was spent too much time in that culture.
Yeah. I mean, your handle on Instagram is freckled light skin, coming from
From that.
obviously
Yeah.
being labeled
Yeah.
light skin, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you feel like moving back to Kuwait, did that change the way you identified? Like, do you identify as Arab now, or do you still
I mean,
not feel connected?
No, I mean, I've never not identified as Arab. It was more of I was young and I was just listening to what my mom was saying for safety reasons, less about how I was feeling. It was
Yeah.
less of like how you feel. It was more about just I'm trying to keep you alive, basically.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like tell me what culture, whatever it is you relate to. It's just that's you survive.
Yeah.
You have to survive. You're in the States. It's just about survival. It's not really about living and doing anything else. That's just how America is.
Yeah. Especially, I feel like in Minnesota, I'm sure that was
Yeah.
pretty,
Yeah. So I mean, it's but yeah, I mean, now do I identify as Arab? I mean, I still identify the same way. For me, it's just myself. I don't necessarily have like a label or culture that I glue myself to, because I grew up in not just the States and the UK. It's like I lived in so many different other
Yeah.
cultures as well throughout my time. So I don't have a culture that I'm necessarily attached to. For me, I'm comfortable with myself. So any culture or any situation I get into or I end up in, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So
I feel like you relate to that.
Yeah,
right?
that's like a big.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a big part of my life because obviously I don't really remember a lot of like 9/11. I'm sure like it's not, we're not really conscious at that time. But I do remember because I was the only Arab and I was the only Muslim, and I to because I was in Paris, right? To French people, I don't really look like what a textbook Arab looks like.
Right.
You know, like if you take the eyeliner off, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of like whatever. She's like very fair, anyways. So I felt like I didn't realize so much that I was not white, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the boxes of like, this is what an Arab looks like. This is what a black person, I just didn't understand. And when 9/11 happened and like everyone in my class, obviously they knew I was Arab. I guess the parents knew from my name. I started getting bullied from it. Like I started getting
Yeah.
called Bin Laden's daughter. And that I think was like the first time I ever realized, oh my God, like I'm not like you.
Yeah.
Because you guys aren't Arab. I guess I'm the bad guy, because that's also when the media sort of turned on us.
Yeah.
And like getting through the airport became weirder, especially if you have like an Arab name. And my real name is Minnatullah. So having, I think, Allah in my name made it a bit of a nightmare. And
Yeah.
being so young as well, like I'm literally a baby and I can feel like the tensions.
Yeah.
So I feel like I like became funny sort of as a defense mechanism. Like, oh, you were going to call me Bin Laden's daughter? Well, I'm going to make jokes about it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to make fun of myself before you make fun of me.
Yeah.
Where you walk around being like, I'm not fully Arab because I didn't live there.
Yeah.
I'm not fully white because I don't look like you guys and I don't act like
I
you
mean,
guys.
even though I lived here, I still relate to you guys in a way because I didn't grow up immersed fully in the culture, and I did struggle with my identity. And then you're like, imagine like being Arab, living in an Arab country, and you after 9/11, you tried to distance yourself from that. I feel like
Also, it wasn't cool
that's
to be Arab.
interesting.
it was not cool.
There
to
was
be
no
Arab.
Arabs in the media.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, there was
There's
no
no
black-
representation, and I feel like,
No.
especially it's like growing up here and my parents kind of being more westernized in a way, and I feel like even my cousins and people around me, like I went to private school, like I wasn't fully immersed in the culture. So you felt like, because we watched like Western media, we watched like all the shows that had white people. There was no representation for like Arab people. So
we
it
had
wasn't
DJ Khaled.
what.
We had DJ Khaled.
DJ
I'm just
Khaled came
kidding.
later. I was a teenager in the
wasn't-
early
yeah,
2000s.
no, yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So it was hard, and you'd always try to like be more white or be more Western. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
So
You felt like you personally had chosen to, I guess, Westernize yourself while living here.
yeah. And then I think I became more proud of my roots way later in
Later.
life, and I tried to reconnect with my roots. So
Yeah.
that's why I feel like I relate to you guys. But in the same sense, like I did do a lot of like back and forth, but a big chunk of my life was here. But I still had that experience.
I think it's interesting because it's something that I'm actually, even for myself, that's something that I'm noticing with people here is there's a lot of kind of, I think it's more of just kind of trying to reflect what you see on TV and you
Yeah.
think is cool. And I notice that here a lot, like in a lot of different ways. I think even musically,
Yeah.
I think that we've strayed away, like here out east, we've strayed away from our roots in music and kind of started to pick up what we think is cool, because what they think is cool, what they see on TV, it's like they want to replicate that because they think
Yeah.
that that's what, when it's honestly, you're not speaking your own, like let's say for rappers here, right? For me, it's interesting to sit back and I don't listen to music, Arab music or Arab rappers or whatever, but I've been shown a few. And for me, it's always interesting to watch and see you tell a story that's not yours just because it seems or sounds cool on
Yeah.
camera, but then real life of that is not cool. So that's the thing. Like for me, I grew up around people that really were in the streets, really were doing a lot of things that a lot of people think is cool. In reality, it's not. So for me, it's interesting to come back and see that kids and people in general, not necessarily, there's even grown people that idolize the Western lifestyle
Yeah.
and Western world when we literally live in a place of safety, which is something that Westerners die to have.
Yeah.
Safety and everything else, because you're not safe out west.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like as simple as leaving your purse in your car here. That always messes with my head, because in my head, how I grew up, it's like if I saw that, that's gone.
Yeah.
Like that, gone.
Yeah.
And if your car is running, it's gone. The minute you step out that car, it's gone. So coming back here and then just seeing kids act as if like
They're
They're
gangsters.
yeah, or like living a life that you just know nothing about,
Yeah.
just because it seems cool. And
Yeah.
so I think it's more of a reflection on what it is they're being shown on TV, for one. And two, it's also their circle of friends, because a lot of people tend to be surrounded by people that have similar interests. So here it's like they amp it up. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's do this, let's do that, let's blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it gets amped up, and to the point that you basically start to forget, I guess, your background or whatever it is, and you start to
Yeah.
forget where you actually are, and start to dig deeper into trying
Yeah.
to live that life that you basically see on TV.
Our new favorite word, poser.
Yeah, no, we were talking about it the other day. We're like, oh my god, like this person is such a poser. And then I was like, oh my god, no one uses poser anymore. But the reality is that I feel like now more than ever there are posers, because also of the internet, right? We all see what someone else is doing. We're so overly exposed to everyone's business that like you just see someone start to become someone that they follow on the Instagram. Not actually the Instagram.
The Instagram.
I didn't. That's because the internet.
She
But I was
just
like,
exposed
no.
how old she is. She said the Instagram,
No,
like
but
it's
No, but like on the internet, like, because it's not just Instagram, it's also TikTok, like,
Yeah.
right? It's it's beyond just, you know, you're scrolling, you're seeing someone, like you're looking at someone's videos, like you become such a fan. You have like that culty mentality of like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with this person. You know, like there's this hebba, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know how people go viral, like and everyone becomes obsessed with them, and then all of a sudden everyone wants to buy whatever they're
selling, whatever
Exactly.
it is. Like, that's the thing. I think, like, for me, I had my spell on TikTok, but for me, I didn't do it from, like, when I initially had started TikTok, it was genuinely, I thought it was between my friends outside of here and myself. Because I was like, I'll just upload things that I wouldn't upload on Instagram. I'll upload it here and you guys can see it. So initially, that's what my thought process was. And then one morning I woke up and I was like, oh, this goes everywhere where you are. Like, in the region that you're at, it's not just...
When did you go viral?
I oh my God. First, I think it was weird. It was like I forgot. It was like a dumb video of my friends asking me how to do the ghutra agal
Yeah.
no
overseas.
way.
I don't know how to do it. So I genuinely was like, I'm gonna put this stupid video and you lot can watch. I have no idea how to do it, so we'll just do it. And I was doing it just for literally for laughs, like with my friends.
Yeah.
So I was doing it, blah, 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 and then it was like, boom. That I went to bed, I woke up, and I was like, all right. One of my friends was like, yo, I think your video's like done a bit of a madness. Like, what's going on now? It's like, how many times did you guys watch it? Like, it's stupid. I don't know how to do a ghutra agal. And yeah, that was when I kind of noticed that it was all Arab comments. And I was like, oh, interesting.
Do you know how to read Arabic? Did you know what they were saying?
Yeah. So surprisingly,
Oh my god, okay.
yeah. So surprisingly, I never used Arabic. Like, really rarely ever used Arabic in the 20 years that I was outside of the country. So I was shocked that I was able to speak Arabic when I had come back, because I didn't know that I could.
Where is that magic with me? Lord, where is that magic with
Genuinely.
me?
You know, one thing I think that you do that I really enjoy is you. I'm sorry if this is offensive, but you kind of don't take yourself seriously when you say it. But I think through that, do you feel like you built your confidence in speaking Arabic?
Yeah, I mean, I still do the same things. Like, I enjoy people actually bantering about, like, إذا قطعت بدلية إذا قلت شيء غلط ولا هذا. I find it funny for me, and it's also a way for me to learn, because the only way I'm actually going to 100% learn is through those situations and through just being putting myself in those situations. So I used to do that, where I would speak Arabic on TikTok, which is where everything started to go a bit mayhem and like madness. And for me, it was always a way for me to A, learn, and B, also, I don't take myself that serious in order for me to be out here to be like, no, I'm not really a person that's serious about everything that I do.
Yeah.
I'm hardly ever serious. So for me, it was just kind of a way of even taking a piss out of myself, because it was just like, oh, okay, now that Arabs are I guess, have found me on TikTok.
I'm famous.
And then, no, because it's like, I guess, a part, like, now that happened, it's like, for me, it was just, okay, we're in COVID. I'm in my apartment all the time doing nothing by myself. So I may as well
Milk
go
it.
online and
Milk it.
Nah, if
Were
I would,
you
I would.
trolling people here.
Yeah, 100%.
Trolling.
100%, 24/7. I did it all the time, just because it
love
was,
that.
just because for me it was like, it was just a way to have fun in general. Like, it wasn't something that I even was planning on milking, because I was already making my own money outside of that. So for me, I had opportunities. I could have milked it if I really wanted to, but for me, it was never about fame or money or whatever. It was more
Money
of
and
just
bitches.
me. For me, it was just about like laughs and giggles for me.
Yeah.
Nothing else. I didn't go into it thinking I want this attention. Like, for me, it was just fun. It's just whatever. So I would just post things that sometimes, like, for me, I know how, if I want to post something that will trigger everyone into like going back and forth, because it's funny to me.
Yeah.
And it teaches me, that was a way of me also learning about like, even if I'm talking about serious things or whatever, the reason that I would talk about serious things is because I always wanted to understand people's mentality here.
Yeah.
And one way to do that during especially COVID was people had no problem saying what they want to say online. It was easier.
That's what I always tell you.
It's always easier to say things online. So it always is easier for me to kind of understand where people's brains were at here.
Yeah.
Because you get a certain group that says this, a certain group that says this, and then you have a certain other group that says something else. So you start to learn about the dynamic of society and the culture here based on just how brave people feel online.
Yeah.
Which I think is a, for me, I think it's a, sorry to cut you off, but for me, I think that it's a good way to honestly know the culture. Like, especially when you're in a COVID situation, I think that was the only honest way for me to know like what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, putting yourself out there is always going to be, I think, the hardest thing in terms of like personally, like, oh my God, I'm gonna put myself out there, I'm gonna be vulnerable, but also the feedback you're gonna get is gonna be the strongest. So if there's any way you're gonna learn, that's definitely like, during COVID the only way you are.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you guys had anything. I wasn't here during COVID, thank God.
Tell us how you really feel.
No, because I know you. It's hard to walk in Kuwait.
It is.
I think COVID for me, I needed to go on a walk.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I do wonder, how did you find it readjusting to this culture? Okay, granted you came during COVID and you did your internet videos and you went viral and you had all of that, but like readjusting to the culture post COVID, like what were your like challenges?
I think for me, I've always respected the culture and traditions, and I've always respected, like, I have a really, really high level of respect for traditional people. As much as people always, especially here, I've noticed it's like they kind of want to move away and shy away from that because it's like, you guys are old school or whatever. And for me, it's like, well, old school is what built your country, for one.
Oh, I love that.
And for two, it's like those are the people that are really holding on to something that became their culture and what you have now. So for me, I've always respected it and I've always appreciated it. The challenge was, I didn't really, to be honest, I didn't face any challenges because I'd be lying to you if I sat here and was like, oh, maybe being accepted, but I don't care about that. So for me, it's hard for me to pay attention to something I don't care about. So that's not really a challenge. Or like, I can't tell you things that I've found challenging because for me, it was all about curiosity and less of a challenge. Like for me, it was always curiosity. Like I'm always going to listen rather than feel like because you feel a different type of way than I do, we should go back and forth. Like for me, no, that's not a challenge for me. I'd rather have discussions and understand where you're coming from and what's happening and all of that. So for me, it was more curiosity, less of kind of challenging or trying to face something. It was like, no, I'm curious about this.
Yeah.
How can I learn about a bit more about the culture, about the people, about whatever else is going on? So I can't say that I like had gone through something that I'm like, whoa. Because also I grew up in the States.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You came from a real like rough background.
Yeah.
I feel like Kuwait's like a holiday if you're gonna compare.
Oh yeah, it's like it's I mean it's not it's a holiday in a way in terms of like you're at peace. You're at peace, you're not in your life is not a threat.
Yeah.
So for me, there's still things that like my brain and I have muscle memory for. Like I don't like I can't like if somebody it's like drifting.
Oh, okay.
So if I hear the screeches of a car, I don't like that because it triggers me.
Oh.
But it's also like those little things. There's little things that just kind of like will make me react a certain way. But then it's also coming to understand that I'm not in a country where I have to worry about my life, whether it be in London or in America. It's like the Middle East doesn't really necessarily operate like that. It's more everything is at peace and
Slow
Knock on
rhythm,
wood.
kind of.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, and it's
Yeah.
very peaceful. It's very nice. It's slow pace. People, I mean, timing is not a thing out here.
That's kind of like a French thing too, right?
Timing? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very proximate. I'll be there at 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, which means like I might be there at 8:50. It's still in the 8.
8?
It's
No,
still
no.
8.
Yeah, yeah.
It
8.
still has a number 8.
But we
Look,
say-
I
we say
don't like
around
that
8.
though. I hate that.
Yeah, people here don't over. Time is not a thing at
Yeah.
all. So
Time is a construct. Time is a social construct.
the earth is also flat.
So would you say that you didn't really experience reverse culture shock when you moved back, or how did you experience reverse culture shock?
No, not really. I mean, not necessarily like anything that threw me off.
Yeah.
Maybe I was surprised by a few things that I didn't know, but it wasn't something that
Like putting on the ghutra.
yeah, like, you know, surprised.
I know
that
guys here who've been here all their
I
lives. and
can't
still don't
figure
know.
it out. I've been trying. I've like looked at YouTube. I've had cousins help me. That's madness. It's been a year, and I'm like, bro, this is how.
Is this why you're wearing this hat?
Yes.
This beanie? Okay.
فكده I would be in قطر agal بس ما أقدر.
Okay.
But no, I didn't really get shocked at things. It was just kind of like curiosity. I just was curious.
Did people not react to you though? Because I know for me personally, I definitely experienced first culture shock, but it's mainly because my language isn't strong.
Yeah.
So you know, like عادات وتقاليد, so to speak. Oh my god, I said that so wrong. عادات وتقاليد, so to speak. It's not. My dad was lived abroad. I mean, my family's international already, so I was like, okay, well, it's fine. But it's more like culturally, when I don't know something, everyone's kind of baffled. I mean, Zainab, you're still baffled sometimes when I don't know something.
Yeah.
And especially, I think because the Kuwaiti language is a bit difficult for me, I feel like that also creates sort of a.
Yeah, it creates a barrier for
Yeah.
sure. I think, like, for me, it was everyone around me knew, obviously, that, you know, I didn't grow up here. I'm not from here. So everyone around me knew. So I would ask questions if I was like curious about something, or if I didn't understand something about the culture, I would ask.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because I'm going to go by it, but for me, it's like I just wanted to understand what, like, doesn't mean I have to follow what goes on, but I just want to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's I think not being able to speak Kuwaiti is definitely would put a barrier
Yeah.
on that. Whereas for me, it was like what helped me was the fact that I wasn't serious about myself and speaking Kuwaiti. So I think that helped me, because I was like, whatever. راح
Yeah.
أقبض لي يعني شو أسوي؟
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? So, but yeah, I think in your case, yeah, for sure. Like, people here definitely would treat you differently if you were able to speak Kuwaiti Arabic.
Yeah.
And I noticed that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, people get shocked when they hear me speak in Arabic, and they're like, Kuwaiti? And my accent is like, لهجتي كويتية. So it's like,
Yeah, I hear you. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so baffled. I'm like madly jealous right now.
like, that's how it is, right? So it's like لهجتي كويتية. So it's yeah, it's
Yeah. I feel
Definitely.
like with Mia though, you speak Arabic.
Yeah.
It's just not Kuwaiti Arabic, and I noticed like that she used to avoid speaking in Arabic, and then I told her one time, I was like, it's fine, just speak it, even if it's not
شوفي
Kuwaiti Arabic.
تكلمي عربي شيء عاد.
It's not that. You know what it is? I think.
لا answer in Arabic.
تكلمي بالعربي. expose اللهجة.
Okay, المشكلة هي أن مبدئيا مامتي تركية مصرية
إنزين.
وتربيت في باريس
إنزين.
for the most part, والمدرس كان مصري، بس أنا تعلمت أتكلم عربي في فرنسا، فأكيد الأكسنت بتاعي اللغة الأولى بتاعتي فرنسي، فأكيد لما هتعلم عربي هيكون بأكسنت فرنسي، وأحس يعني I couldn't fit in with the I don't know how to say it in Arabic. I couldn't fit in with like Egyptian people outside of France, because they were like me, like we all spoke like us French Arabic, and I can't fit in with Kuwaiti people because هم أما أسولف كويتي والأكسنت مو عارفة أضبطه، مو عارفة it's a that or a that.
صح.
I'm confused a little bit, and I think people are just like, oh, but you're not Kuwaiti, and I think I'm fine. Like, it's not that deep. But I do think sometimes it can get isolating, especially as an only child. You know, at times you're just like, okay, well, I'm not Egyptian enough. I'm not Kuwaiti enough. I'm not French enough. So it does, as a third culture kid, sometimes you feel like, okay, well, I'll just speak English because no one.
It's the
makes
middle
me feel
ground.
alone.
Yeah, it's your middle ground. English is your middle ground. But yeah, I mean, it's a Kuwaiti accent is interesting.
It's hard.
It's
like
hard.
I
Difficult.
grew up here, and I also had a lot of bedliyat because at home we spoke English
Right.
with my parents, and with my siblings we spoke in English. So I kind of learned it because I went to Kuwait University, and that was reverse culture shock.
Shout out
for me.
KU.
Shout out KU. Can you imagine like
Wow,
a private
that's
school
mad.
kid like who grew up in a home, like even though my parents were Kuwaiti, they were very much influenced by Western culture. Like the way my family raised us is not your typical Kuwaiti, family. And so I went to Kuwait University, and then I befriended all the TKs.
Woo! Shout out TK.
And that was my way of connecting to my culture. And I loved it, honestly, because I learned how to speak, and I was made fun of sometimes, but like you, I was like, okay, I just have to not let it get to me. If I say something like, or say a badliya, I just like, khas, it's a way of learning. How I still have badliya to this day.
That's
But it's
interesting. I
fun.
mean, yeah, it surprises me actually that there's quite a few people that I've met here that were like, yeah, I went to private school, so I can't really speak that much Arabic. And
yeah,
I'm
those
like,
those are my friends that so I like these kids because they understand a little bit how hard it is, because when they go to do a government errand, our government is still mainly Arabic.
It's all Arabic. What are you talking about?
No, but the staff there, everyone speaks to you in Arabic. You
Yeah.
have a few people that can exchange, with you in English. But they're like me, like, oh yeah, when we go to get paperwork done, we have to have like someone with us. Otherwise, we're not sure what's happening. It's crazy. But no one talks about that here.
I learned a lot through doing paperwork, like a lot of terms. And it's just like, it's kind of like you have to throw yourself into it. And I tell you this all the time, like, I don't think it's something to be proud of that I don't know how to speak the language very well, or I struggled with reading. Now I'm a lot better. Obviously, it would be embarrassing if I wasn't.
She can read her hate comments in Arabic.
I'm always reading the hate comments, and she's like, she tries to read them. I'm like, no. She said this.
What does this mean?
And she's like, what does this mean? I'm mad before I'm trying to explain to
TikTok is cool though because they translate it for you. So
Yeah.
sometimes I can read the hate myself.
Instagram does it. too.
honestly, TikTok was it was an interesting era. I guess that's still going, but here in Kuwait. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was, if I didn't understand something, which a lot of the times I may not have when I read it, I would ask. Like, my brothers or my cousins or whoever tend to be the ones that actually send me the comments. So I don't really necessarily sit there and read comments. So my brothers or my cousins or whoever would send me the comments, and then I would read whatever was said. And most of the time I'd respond, even if it was something that was like negative or whatever, I would respond just in a troll manner. Like, for me, it was just in a manner of just enjoying myself. It's not really something that I'm like, oh no, my feelings are hurt. It's like, I don't know you, you don't know me.
Teach us your ways.
Hamad, model, spinning coach, troll.
Literally, I troll myself.
man.
I troll myself on pages that I'm on, for like on Nike. I've trolled myself nonstop. Like,
Yeah.
for me, it was just like, I learned how precious life is at such a young age that I just learned I just have to basically enjoy my time here until I'm done, until khalas I'm finished.
That is so
But
cute.
so for me, it's just that's how I continue to live my life, where
Yeah.
it's like through a childlike curiosity.
I love that.
I know, Hamad.
So
You're gonna make
Wait,
us cry.
Here we
where's
go.
the on sound?
here we go.
Aw. Insert awesome.
But yeah, for me, it's just, that's how I operate it. So that's how I continue to operate. Obviously, the older you get, the wiser you get,
Yeah.
the calmer you get. But I still always make sure to tap into my childlike curiosity about things, just because I wanna know,
Enjoy them. Be curious about them.
Yeah, and that's what I tend to do, which is why I lived in so many different like countries and cultures. It's because if I get curious about something, I'm like, yep, I'm gonna go there
Yeah.
and find out, and I fully just throw myself into it. Like I will learn the language, I will learn everything, just
So,
because.
did you do the same here? Like, how was it adapting to Arabic culture then? Like,
Oh, I threw myself into everything.
okay.
I did not shy away from anything. Like for me, it was like my cousins, or whoever, friends, my brothers, whoever, they'd be like, we want to do this. But I would do any and everything, just because for me, it was like everything was learning. So it was all like, all right, let me learn. So
Yeah.
the more I was able to, the more I said yes to things, the more I was learning.
Yeah.
So everyone was, even if we had a brief encounter, like if we met, maybe hung out once or twice or whatever, it's like I learned something from you and during that time. So for me, it's like that. Those were the cases where I was just like learning.
Yeah. I mean, we basically talked about cultural misunderstandings, which is also like a challenge that third culture kids face. But we talked about it in a sense of like moving back to Kuwait. Did you feel like there were cultural misunderstandings when you lived abroad?
About Arabs, yeah.
Like when did you grow up in a home that was like? Was there a focus on the Arab culture? I mean, you did say
No.
that
At home and
yeah, were you
Western
Arab at
outside?
home and Western outside, basically?
No, it was. I mean, my mom still beat us, so that's the Arab. That's
Shout out,
the
Mom.
yeah. That's the Arab black in her.
That,
so
yeah, that's a non-white.
Yeah,
thing.
she
It's a
didn't care.
POC.
The first time it happened was in Target in America, and I was like,
Shout out
"Raw."
Target.
I was like, all these white women are in here, like you're wild. Yeah, I literally was like, if I scream help or if I like call the police, child services, and she looked me dead in my face and she was like, do it. She was like, so her.
So your mom spoke Arabic
Yeah, she speaks about Arabic. That only came out when we were like in trouble.
when you need a beating or two.
Oh, for sure.
Honestly, this is gonna be problematic,
sure.
but I feel like some kids need
For sure.
a few light slaps.
I beat the shit out of my brothers. My younger brothers, yeah. What do you mean?
Look,
I don't
let's
have
just be
siblings.
clear. We're not condoning violence.
I'm
Hamad
condoning
is-
beat your siblings.
As a lawyer, I have no opinion
beat
on
my
this.
brother. my
Yeah,
younger
beat your
brother.
siblings. What?
Beat you back one day?
When he was taller, but
Yeah.
I used to beat him. I'm 4 years older. I beat the shit.
Yes, I think siblings should 100%
Yeah.
beat their own
And
siblings.
then one day he grew up and I forgot that puberty happens. And then he beat me up. He beat me back.
See?
And then I had to change strategies.
Yeah,
so it was
see?
more like I
You
had to
learn.
distance.
Yeah, you learn. You
Like, I
learn.
had to
It
throw
teaches you
things,
so
yeah.
much stuff. Like now I do it. I make my brothers fight just cuz and they just fight. Like anything turns into a fight. We could play Uno. It will never be peaceful. We could play any game. I don't care if we're sitting here in silence.
It's the Uno for me. It's Monopoly for me.
You post about your family a lot.
Yeah,
on,
my brothers, yeah.
TikTok, right?
Yeah.
What was the response?
They're just
that?
funny. They're
Yeah.
just like funny. Like it's just boys. So for me, it was just like they're just doing boys stuff
Like
that
fighting,
yeah,
biting each other.
fighting, anything,
Driving cars.
flipping, yeah, like sliding mattresses down steps, like any and everything they were doing, and that's how normally they are in general. So it's like that's how we are in general outside of the cameras. It's
Yeah.
like whatever I'm recording is literally whatever was happening at that time. So it's like not like, oh, I'm gonna record it and this is what happens. It's like, no, this is really just how it is.
Yeah.
That's how boys are whenever they're in a confined space, to the point that if I'm ever at my dad's and it's quiet, my dad gets will come out and be like, Shfikum, Sayer, Hamad Mawjood wala ish قاعد يصير? Because it's like the silence makes no sense.
Are you the quiet one?
Me? In what sense?
Like when you're at home, are you the quietest one?
Nah, I instigate.
Oh.
Oh my god! I see that.
Or
He
you're
just
the
said
one
he
that
makes them
stirs the
fight.
pot and then just sits there
Yeah,
and
and I
eats
just
the
watch.
popcorn.
Yeah, and I just watch. I just watch. I just sit there and I'm like,
Yeah. So growing up, your brothers are a lot younger.
yeah,
you know,
right now
but-
from my yeah.
Yeah. Did you grow up with siblings that were around your age?
Yeah, I had siblings. I'm the youngest from my mom and my dad.
Okay.
So my parents are divorced, but so from my mom and my dad, yeah, I'm the youngest. I have 3 siblings from them, and then it's me, and then it's my youngest brothers from my dad's side.
Did they beat you up?
Yeah, for sure. What do you mean? We did everything.
He's the youngest. He's
Yeah,
definitely-
like I got involved in the beatings. I got beat up. It's like it all happened. It was always violence.
Yeah.
Always.
the white people right now watching are gonna report.
Yeah, they're gonna be like,
they're gonna report someone to child protective.
Shout out child protection. I don't know what y'all doing, but
Where were you? Y'all bit
CPS.
like-
Yeah, right.
Okay. I want to touch on something a bit heavy
Go on.
that I touched on earlier, which is sort of bullying. Obviously, we're talking about beating. I'm not saying your brothers beat you and bullied you, but I am quite open, I think, to my friends at least, about the bullying you get as someone that is Arab. And mind you, I don't even look that different to the norm outside. You do sort of get used to it, you know. There's this normalization of you're gonna go to the airport, or you're gonna hang out with some people, or something's gonna happen, someone's gonna say something, and you're gonna realize that it's racist, or it's a backhanded compliment, or there's something wrong with how people act to Arabs or Muslims.
Right.
Especially now in the media, we're seeing it, right, with what's happening with Palestine and Gaza. Like the narrative is always that we're the bad guy.
Right.
Did you go through anything like that for being Arab, other than the fact that your mom said, hey, hide the fact that you're Arab?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I went through it, I think, throughout my life in general, whether it be here or outside of here. Because like I went through it here when I was younger, because I have freckles and the way that I look. And
Freckles are so cool now.
Thank you.
People are. No, I'm not. It's not a compliment. I don't know. I mean, you look fantastic. You look fabulous. Child Protective Services are coming for him now, for me, because of me. No, look, you look great.
This is bullying.
He's like,
she's like, let's touch on bullying. You want bullying?
Bullied. I got bullied for how I looked when I was here. And then in the States, wasn't necessarily like bullied, I guess, to say, because it was like, again, I was seen as a black kid. So for me, it was not really like a bully type of situation. It was more like, am I going to go home tonight type of situation. Like,
horrible.
which, you know, so for me, it was like, there wasn't like a big, like, point of bullying, I guess, in that sense. And also because my friends were always ready to throw hands at any time.
Or shoot people, apparently.
Did you experience any discrimination though? Because you
Myself?
yeah.
Myself, no, because I don't look Arab.
No.
Oh.
You're also, you identify.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. It's America. I mean you
yeah.
kind of don't have a choice. Like,
Yeah.
it's really not a choice. And it's also, London is the same thing. I mean, as much as people want to kind of think that London is
Yeah.
just as bad.
I'm shocked. I was like, London.
Yeah, no, London is just as bad.
London's bad because, I mean, people who obviously go to London on holiday, they're like, oh, it's so multicultural, it's international. But when you live there for real, and I lived there for 7 years, so I feel like I have like a good opinion of London.
Yeah.
It's literally divided, kind of like jail, by race. So like Southeast Asians together, South Asians together, whites together, blacks together, and then depending on your neighborhood. So if you're a
your
Chelsea girl
postcode.
or a South London, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's your postcode. Like, your
Yeah.
postcode tells people like, for me, it's like, because I was in South, it was like, you guys are ghetto kids, right? Because it's South London. Most people don't go South London.
Yeah.
And
Shout out gentrification.
hipsters. And then I'm shocked because I went Peckham near, like,
Beckham is so trendy now.
like, literally, I went there. I mean, when I was in Peckham, it was a completely different, like, type of Peckham.
You wouldn't go to Peckham.
No, you wouldn't even get off the like, people wouldn't even tell you to get on the train to go past Peckham,
Yeah.
let alone get to
And that's where
Peckham.
you live?
Yeah, so it's like, as soon as you were on there, you were definitely gonna get robbed.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, discrimination that happened in general in the States, outside of the States, it happens here. It's I think, again, like I said, I think people just kind of assume that America is the only place that has racism and all of that, where
Yeah.
in reality it's happening even here.
Oh, we have a
So-
lot of discrimination here,
Yeah.
obviously, but I feel like when we travel abroad, we're shocked when people do it. to
Yeah,
us.
because it's
Yeah.
like, I think because it's also because we have this sense of what we deem as a higher sense of self in the Middle East, because that's what we get fed, the same way Americans get fed a certain thing. It's like you get fed certain stuff here, which then makes you kind of think that whatever you're doing is right. So when you see someone else doing the same thing that you're doing, you literally are like appalled. But at the same time, you haven't really taken time to look at what you're
Yeah.
doing, which, yeah.
What are some coping mechanisms that you've had to employ to deal with bullying or discrimination?
We don't condone that.
Hamad, you're trying to get us in trouble here.
What do you want me to tell you? You
No,
want me to like?
yeah, I feel like from the way you speak, I think some like a self-defense mechanism that I mean, I don't want to be like I'm psychoanalyzing
know.
here, but I feel like you've kind of grown thick skin, don't you?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
you
I've-
just
I've-
brush it off as
Yeah, I mean, I've always grown that. I've always grown up that way because grew up around my cousins as well, and I have a lot of cousins. So when I was younger, it was like we also used to fight in school. We used to fight outside of school. So for me, it was like I heard everything and nothing really. So anything you throw at me was never something new. It was
Yeah.
like I didn't care. Yeah, I mean, a huge part of the reason that I'm really, I guess you could say, unbothered by a lot is because I've been in therapy for 8 to 10 years.
Oh my god, I
Ooh,
love
shout out
that.
therapy.
Shout out therapy.
yeah, we love condoning therapy on this podcast.
This is the podcast where I bully people to
Yeah.
go to therapy.
Bros
See,
are like, go to therapy.
with fighting, therapy comes. But but I took time to understand where I was at, what I needed to understand myself. So for me, that's a huge part of why I'm unbothered by a lot. Not a lot can really bother me
Yeah.
because it's just like, all right.
I mean, as third culture kids, we do experience a lot of challenges and discrimination and bullying. And I feel like because of that, we're kind of forced to grow fast
Yeah.
and be resilient. And obviously therapy helps, but do you feel like those challenges did kind of contribute to your journey of growth?
Yeah, I mean, they're a part of me. They happened, so they're a story in my book,
Yeah.
I guess you could say. So yeah, I mean, they play a part in how I even handle myself. Because I mean, if it was me, let's say in my teenage years, if you were to say something or look at me wrong, it was
Fight.
Cry?
meet me in
Or
the
fight?
meet me in the bathroom during third.
I'm shocked
Third
because
period.
you are so like soft spoken and calm.
I know.
You're so soft. Literally.
Yeah.
I'm like, can I hear him?
I
Like,
know. A lot of
Yeah.
people say that to me. Like, you need to speak louder. This is me speaking loud.
This is the loud volume, everyone.
I know.
AirPod Max must be so
Like-
happy. The users, rich people.
Shut up. We both we have a joke about AirPod Max
The rich.
users,
Sponsor.
and we're
Eat the
like,
rich.
Oh, the rich people, and then we both get AirPods.
I got them gifted by them, my friends.
I
So
made
your
sure-
friends know
I made
you-
sure she would
You
get them.
bougie. That's basically what your friends are telling me.
My friends just
I
they're the
just
best. I can't say anything bad about them. No, but I do think yes, get therapy. Like that's our number one suggestion. If you feel like some type of way, talking to someone and finding
yeah, but I
people
think
like
it's
you.
also therapy. We can't really say go get therapy because there's a lot of people that can't afford therapy. So who am I gonna? And also a lot of people, I understand their perspective of not trusting someone they don't know to talk to them about stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of helplines though, and that's what I like about the UK.
But helplines are not patient.
Of course, helplines are not going to replace a therapist, but the fact that there are like helplines that are free, and the fact that there is access on the internet, so there's like these chat bots on Tumblr, where if you type something that they deem a red flag, like something that alludes to an eating disorder or suicide or anything, there's a chat bot that comes out and sends you a message right away. It's nice that society's doing things actively, at least on the internet or on the phone, to help flag, to maybe inform you if you're not realizing what you're doing, that hey, there's a problem, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously you have to speak to your friends. Like if you have a trusted group of friends, because you can't isolate yourself. It is isolating. Like these situations do isolate you. As a third culture kid, I think the best moment ever is realizing that, oh my God, there's so many people like me. I can meet someone from Singapore tomorrow who has a very similar experience to me, even though they don't look like me, they don't sound like me, they don't even speak the same languages as me, you know? It's, for me personally, that changed my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. People around you obviously are going to be important. The people that you're surrounded with are going to be important because they're going to eventually shape, help shape you, and B, help shape the perspective of the world around you. It's like if you were in Kuwait and let's say you two didn't know each other and you were in Kuwait for as long as you are, you wouldn't see Kuwait in the same way that you see it now.
I wouldn't be here.
Well, then there you go. But that's the thing. You wouldn't see Kuwait. But the reason that your perspective of Kuwait is the way that it is because of the people that are around you. And that's the thing that I've learned from being here. Like for me, my perspective on Kuwait is based on my surroundings and what I decide to indulge in and not indulge in, and the people that I also decide to be around. Because for me, it's like I think in this region, you get the most honest connections and friendships with people because there isn't that much distracting you. So you're not distracted by the fact that I can go on a night out, I can do X, Y, and Z and just have friendships out of convenience. Here it's like you have all the time in the world to spend with each other. You have all the time in the world to learn about them, from them. A lot of friends work together. So it's like, I mean, I think here it's where you start to learn that the people you surround yourself with are what is going to shape your perspective of whatever surroundings you are in. So for you, obviously people that have helped you when you were talking to them about your problems or whatever, that's something that got you to the point that you are at now. For me, I grew up, you gotta fight to get your respect. We don't do the back end, you don't do the let's talk about our feelings or whatever. That was not something. It was like you don't. Yeah. So, but even within that, obviously, as a man, the way we express things are completely different to you lot.
For sure.
Yeah.
So as men, we joke around about trauma a lot.
Yeah. I think with us as girls, like even though I grew up here, I struggle with this a lot. I think the biggest struggle is the way we dress.
Yeah.
It has to change a lot here or else like they're ruthless. Like
there is an emphasis on modesty, and I think modesty in the Middle East is different to what modesty is maybe outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't think that it's wrong.
It's not.
I think it just adds, like for me, I think it just is a point of respect for the culture.
Yeah.
Less of anything else. Because out west, being modest is what? No one even knows that, to be honest.
What is modesty?
Yeah, like out there, you don't know. But here, it's a very clear-cut line.
Yeah.
Like here, it's like, it's this and this. So it's like there isn't that confusion of like...
I will argue with that because I think we don't want to get into the topic of modesty today, and obviously it's subjective.
Yeah.
We'll have you on for another episode.
Yeah, modesty episode. If you have things that, but I do think depending on your body shape, you will look more or less modest.
Oh yeah.
And you could be wearing the exact same thing, and it's acceptable for one person, and it's not for the other one.
Yeah.
That blurs the lines a little bit.
And it's not like you're trying to intentionally disrespect the culture, but the backlash that you get sometimes can be quite traumatizing, where you're like, I don't even want to leave my house. But you have to learn to adapt and adjust. Yeah. Anyways,
so our last guest, left a question for our next guest.
All right.
And that's what we're doing whenever we have guests. So
Yeah.
Okay.
you're going to answer this question, and she didn't know who you were going to be. Like, she doesn't know who the next guest is. And then we're going to ask you to ask the next guest a question. So you pay it
Alright.
forward.
Okay.
So would your younger self be proud of you?
Would my younger self be proud of me? Probably not.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, probably not.
Why?
But I'm here.
Maybe that's putting you on the spot. You don't have
No,
to.
no, it's not anything that's like. I think it's just, my younger self probably had a different idea to how life would look like, maybe.
Yeah.
And then obviously as you grow up, life happens and things happen. But I think I wouldn't say like they would be proud of me. I would say they'll probably just be proud that I survived and made it this far. But yeah, wouldn't necessarily be like, yeah, they're proud of you. It's like,
Yeah.
Hamad.
that's shouldn't.
That's just so sad. Like that.
What? How is that sad?
Life is so sad.
It's not though. It's just that's the truth.
Your life is really it's very layered and it's very interesting, and I
Yeah.
didn't have any expectations, but I definitely didn't think like you went through something like that's crazy. A lot of people
Yeah.
here will never go through that, so it's really impressive. And I think obviously I'm no one say that, but you should be proud of yourself.
No, I'm proud of myself.
Because, yeah.
If you're asking about my younger self, no.
Yeah. But also in saying that, like, I do want to say thank you for opening up and sharing these stories and trusting us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
You're
It's a
welcome.
lot.
Thank you for having me.
Wait,
What's
hold
the
on.
next
Yeah.
was
You got to ask a question
I
for our
got
next
asked
guest.
a question. What is something that you're proud of yourself for getting through and coming out at the end?
oh.
I love that. All right. Well, thank you, Hamad, again
Thank you.
for being such a lovely guest and sharing all your
All the tea.
spilling all the tea.
Exclusive.
He fights.
No one's violence. We don't.
Beat your siblings.
No one piss Hamad off. He's road rage.
All right. We'll hope to have you on for another episode about modesty.
I know that.
All right, you guys, that was the episode. If you liked the episode,
Like, comment, subscribe, rate, review. If you rate us below 5 stars, don't rate us at all.
we don't want it. Mia does not want it.
Yo,
All
this
right,
is
we'll see
this
you.
is bullying. This is
Shh. See you next time.